Nestled deep within the Appalachian Mountains, the small town of Hollow Creek was the kind of place where everyone knew everyone. Life moved slowly, and the residents were content with their quiet existence until one fateful autumn when the town's tranquility was shattered. It began with the arrival of an outsider. Dr. Eleanor Price, a renowned anthropologist, had come to study the ancient burial mounds scattered throughout the region. Local legends spoke of the mounds as the resting places of a long-forgotten people who had vanished mysteriously. Despite warnings from the townsfolk, Dr. Price was determined to uncover their secrets. Eleanor rented an old cabin on the outskirts of town, close to the largest burial mound. The cabin had a reputation for being cursed, but she dismissed the stories as superstition. Armed with her tools and unwavering curiosity, she began her excavations. From the moment Eleanor disturbed the first mound, strange occurrences plagued Hollow Creek. The air grew thick with unease, and an oppressive silence blanketed the town at night. Animals behaved erratically, dogs barked at unseen entities, and cattle refused to graze near the woods. Residents reported hearing whispers in the wind, voices that seemed to call their names. Eleanor, however, remained undeterred. She unearthed artifacts, stone carvings, ceremonial masks, and bone fragments that spoke of a dark and ancient culture. Among her findings was a peculiar obsidian amulet etched with cryptic symbols. The moment she touched it, a chill ran through her body, and she felt as though unseen eyes were watching her. That night, Eleanor's dreams were filled with horrifying visions. She saw shadowy figures dancing around roaring fires, their faces hidden behind grotesque masks. Their chants were guttural and rhythmic, reverberating in her skull long after she woke up. When she checked the amulet the next morning, it felt warm to the touch. The disturbances in Hollow Creek escalated. Children went missing, their laughter replaced by eerie silence. A farmer discovered his livestock slaughtered, their blood used to draw strange symbols on his barn. Desperate, the townsfolk turned to the local preacher, Reverend Carter, who began organizing nightly vigils and prayers to protect the community. Eleanor's obsession with the amulet grew. She spent hours studying it, convinced it held the key to the ancient civilization she sought to understand. Her behavior became erratic. She spoke in a language no one understood and claimed to see figures lurking in the shadows. When the townsfolk confronted her, she dismissed their concerns and accused them of being afraid of progress. One stormy night, Reverend Carter gathered a group of men and marched to Eleanor's cabin. They found her in a trance, sitting in a circle of candles with the amulet clutched tightly in her hand. Her eyes were black as coal, and she spoke in a deep, guttural voice that was not her own. The men recoiled in fear as an unseen force threw them against the walls. "Leave her!" the voice bellowed. "She belongs to us now." Reverend Carter, clutching his Bible, began reciting prayers. The room shook violently, and the candles flickered as if caught in a fierce wind. Eleanor let out a blood-curdling scream, and the amulet shattered into pieces. The shadowy presence that had filled the room vanished, leaving Eleanor unconscious. The next morning, Eleanor awoke with no memory of what had transpired. She packed her belongings and left Hollow Creek, abandoning her research and vowing never to speak of it again. The townsfolk buried the shattered remnants of the amulet deep within the forest, hoping to seal away whatever evil had been unleashed. Though life in Hollow Creek slowly returned to normal, the scars of that autumn lingered. Children grew up hearing whispered tales of the anthropologist who dared to disturb the dead and the darkness that nearly consumed the town. And on quiet, moonless nights, some claimed to hear faint whispers in the wind, calling for Eleanor to return.